Thank you so much for these great people on the screen here. They are supporting our channel to bring you more education like this. If you are interested in joining the crew, come on down. The link is in the description below. Moriya Jutanugarn, 14 years old, on the left, all raw talent and potential. On the right, a wider, more athletic, more dangerous version of herself. So what helped her go from this to this? Spoiler, it wasn't some trendy swing hack or miracle drill off Instagram. Today we break down the real changes that fueled her evolution so you can stop guessing and start understanding your own swing's cause and effect. And if you're sick of revolutionary methods that cost more than your driver and deliver less than your 5-iron on a cold day, hit that like, drop a comment, and subscribe. It really helps us reach more golfers like you who want the truth over trend. Because let's be honest, if someone's promising you the moon in golf, you're probably getting mooned instead. Alright, Moriya's on the screen. Young Moriya's left side, older Moriya's right side. I went to her statistics. I'll leave this playing, and while we look at her statistics really quickly. So the 1 year she made $1 million. Everything is the same. Driving distance is the same. Her putting averages are the same. Her up and downs are the same. But one thing that was not the same was her percentages of greens hit and fairways hit. So we look at 78.83, driving accuracy 75.48, which gave her top 20 in each category. Now if we take a look at her 2013, the first year she played a full year on the LPGA Tour, her averages were 72% and 68%, which is about 7 to 8% more. So if we take a look at her, all the other stats are the same except the percentages. Now what did that do for her in her scoring average? So when she was having the lower percentages, her scoring average was 72.09. The newer one, we're looking at 70.16. That's almost 2 strokes difference per round. You multiply that by 4 rounds, now we're looking at 8 shots difference, and that is the money maker. 8 shots difference made her quadruple the amount of money with the same statistics other than hitting fairways and greens. But why was she doing this? And this was a big gamble for her coach at this time, or her at this time, whoever made that decision, because it could have gone the other way. Typically when you have somebody that is so gifted with their motions, it's very touchy to try and change their swings, and there's such a minute level. And that's why there's different levels of coaching. I think the coaches that have a tougher job are the ones that are coaching the average man and lady, the brand new player, because there's so many things to take note of. They haven't established a swing. You got to keep them guided based on their goals. But we all know tour players, they're so talented, they can hit it with a broomstick, but at that level, they're looking for tiny little changes. And just remember the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. There's an ending to that saying, that it's oftentimes better the master of one. So you want to make sure you go to a coach that understands multiple swings, multiple styles, instead of going to a tailored coach that only works with specific players and specific motions, like the tour guys and girls. But let's take a look at this, and it's a subtle change that has to do with keeping that club face in a different position at the top of the swing. Hopefully you've seen it by now. If you watch the channel, you know what to look for. But if you don't, let's take this out. So we're going to start from the beginning. I can't use OG Barney Purple just because the colors don't make them stand out. So we've got our mellow yellows for the lower and upper plane line, and our Gumby green for the spine angle and the back brace line. So before we break this down into further detail, the one on the left side relies more on turning, the one on the right side relies more on tilting, and it has to do with creating room to tilt on the right side that she doesn't have on the left side due to the arm plane differences and due to that club face differences. Now the one on the left side, when you required more rotation to get that club out in front, some things can happen. And if your release is a little too quick with rotation, when you have an exit path that's left with a driver, that's where some issues happen. Where the one on the right side, when you do have more tilting bias with the driver, you can get that club flatter, you can get the launch angle to increase, the backspin to decrease slightly, but also the most important thing is your hand path. Remember yesterday's video, we talked about tilting and how that hand path will be shifted right. And when it does shift right, that gives you more permission to rotate and keep that tilting relative to each other. So the rotation will offset the tilting, where the left side, less tilt, you rely on more rotation. Any sort of release, delay, or increase that ball flight might not be as straight at that high level. But basically, let's take a look at this first part of the swing. We're going to back it up and see immediately a difference. On the right side, we can see that club is staying much closer to that lower plane line, longer. We see the left side, that club veers up immediately away from that lower plane line, and also the hands will start to raise up as well. But once we get to the middle checkpoint where we see our hands will go in front of our spine angle, she is still pretty connected. We do see a little bit more rotation on the right side. We see a straighter right arm, which means we are creating a little bit more width earlier, which will then help her turn, because width, to get that club further back, you do require more turn. So we will see evidence of turning, we will see evidence of loss of tilting on the right side, but also our hands, because they're further and they're not trapped with that initial turn. At the top of her swing, we see the old one gets that secondary plane line pretty well, where the new one gets above the secondary plane line, which will then change her club face. So we take a look at the club face position. We're going to draw this in Ivan Red. There's one club face which is closed, and here's the other club face which is more open, but it's probably pretty square, so maybe a slight smidge closed. But this all has to do with that arm position. Same grip but different arm position. So check this out. So here's the club face is closed. If I raise my hands up without moving the position of my wrists and my hands, what happens to that club face? It starts to veer open. So the more you can get your hands higher, the more that club face is going to start to be in a more open position, which will help her be more connected. But if you take a look at her tilting, she actually loses more tilting now. And we're going to try and showcase this with our Smirkleton. Let's do this just before she gets to the top so we can see that shoulder tilt relationship. Here we are at roughly 34, and here we are at 28. So we are losing tilt. Now when you lose tilt, you have a wider arc and your hands get higher. Now all of a sudden you have so much more room to carry that 6-degree difference of tilt down to impact. So essentially, when you start losing tilt at the top, your right shoulder is further down anyway. So you can take that same motion and probably be 6 or 7 degrees more tilt with the right side. So let's see if this occurs down at impact. So as we strike that golf ball, let's get our tilting tool right again, and we do the same tilt here. We are at 43. Now we're looking for 6, maybe 7 degrees of difference, and right there is difference. So it's not like she's accentuating a new tilting motion from the top. She's just carrying that loss of tilt from the top into the bottom. So we go back to the top of the swing here, and what we can tell, and we will use Barney Purple here, is look at the right elbow, how it's tucked into the right side of her body. Now if she goes ahead and tilts from that position, there's going to be some issues. So she can't really tilt as much. Secondly, we can see the new motion has more of a flying elbow, and this is okay because this gets that hands higher. Now when they're higher and she's going to carry that tilt more, she's going to come a little bit more shallower. Now what this does too is it's going to change your triangle. So if we go to this triangle here, we can see that there's going to be some issues with her as she drops it in the slots versus the new one. We can see which one is coming from a steeper angle, obviously the one on the right side, but look how much quicker her hands will get closer to that lower plane line. We're going to look for parallel if that's possible. So we go 1, 2, we see this club is already parallel right away within 2 frames. We go to the next frame, we can see that club head is falling at that plane or below that plane, where the old one is a little bit steeper because there's not as much tilt due to the fact that she didn't lose tilt in the new motion. I put Ivan Red right above her head, and watch the head and then watch the feet. So old swing, we see the head staying fairly the same level. We see the footwork trying to work around that, but we see both toes up in the air at impact on the old swing. New swing, what do you see a difference of? You see going down, we drive, the right foot is coming up, but watch at impact. That left heel is closer to the ground, meaning that the centeredness is a little bit more controlled, and the release at this point is more out in front of her, meaning that's a straighter release with her right side. And as she comes on through, we can definitely see that exit path is going to be a little bit higher. Now remember, when it's higher, that means you're swinging more up and not so much around. So this slight little change really helped her control that club head. Now at that level, they're looking to control it. Now it was a gamble because obviously, as I said in the beginning, if you deal with somebody that is very talented at their motion and has it so ingrained, it is such a slight change, but I guarantee you for her, it felt like a world of difference, and it probably took quite some time for her to accomplish this. The amazing thing though is her stats did not change at all. Putting, chipping, driver length, it was all the same. The only thing that did change was more fairways hit 7% and more greens hit 7%, which made her 4 times as much money. But let's take a look at one more video because I want to show you face on, and look at this setup here, because this is a setup, again, I want you guys to focus on at home, where that shoulder tilting, and you can see the hands are connected to that shoulder tilting, and there's this ever so slight forward press. Now I'm not sure what club this is. It might be a longer iron just because I believe it's on the small tee, but that is the forward press we're looking for. We're not looking for a forward press relative to the left shoulder, because the left shoulder is not the hub of your circle. The hub is right here. It is your spine. That's the center of your body. I've never really met somebody that is the center of the body on the left shoulder. If I do, they're probably on Star Trek somewhere. But let's take a look at what happens for her to get that centeredness of her chest over that golf ball. We start to see an exaggerated finish where we're leaning over. So this is a feeling that she needs to have to get that centeredness of her chest over, because of the way she's set up. You can see her centeredness is slightly behind the golf ball. There's her centeredness, so it's slightly behind the golf ball. Now her goal is to get that centeredness ahead. The ground would have to look like this to be level with her tilt. So in other words, to the ground, we're going to look at how much forward press she has. So this is a big difference too, is how much tilt you establish changes this bottoming out of your circle if things stay the same. Now we know they don't stay the same. We're probably going to see an excess tilting, specifically with her new move, which will then shift things out even further. And that excess tilting, you can see the ground level also changes in a perception way. So now you're going to be running into some issues unless you get that upper body to really lean forward. So as we take a look at her first move, we see that she has a great turn. Watch that upper body. Now look at the center. The centeredness is way out ahead of that golf ball. So in order to get that, she really feels like the upper body's moving over. It's not moving as exaggerated as her follow through, but remember, follow through is just a response of your feeling. So look at that feeling there. This is because of that excess shoulder tilt at the top, which we know we increase, which will bring your ground level higher too. So you got a lot to work with, but I hope this helps you understand that even though small subtle changes do exist at the top level, you should not be worrying about these small subtle changes unless you can look at your cause and effect to directly relate your misses. Remember, golf's a game of misses. It's not about how well you hit the golf ball. Hope that helps you. I'll see you on Sunday at the red light, and then Monday for a video. Fairways and greens.